you have all of these red states and Trump voters who keep on finding out the leopards are eating your face. We tried to warn you. Trump was going to screw you, and you may find it funny when you see headlines like this to all the MAGAs out there. Unemployment spikes in Washington, D.C. as Trump and Musk begin efforts to shrink the government. A 36% increase in jobless filings in Washington, D.C. And you may say, oh, that's great. Look, we're sticking it to Washington, D.C. By the way, those are people who do essential services. With them gone, it is going to screw you based on what they do. But ultimately, the chickens are going to come home to roost into your backyard as well. So that may be happening in Washington, D.C. And by the way, my heart goes out to all of those hard federal workers who are being treated like absolute crap. But we can go and take a look at various other red states and find the same thing happening. I mean, take a look what's going on in Georgia, which is a purple state, but voted for Trump this time. Local veterans in Georgia are super angry, and they're saying, quote, we've been betrayed as these layoffs by Trump and Musk, the oligarchs who are making billions. They're doing nationwide layoffs at the Veterans Administration, and it's impacting people in Georgia and places like Atlanta's VA healthcare system. Though the local VA did not say how big the impact is, some terminated employees are asking why they were chosen. Let me show you just somebody in Georgia. And I don't know how this guy voted. I don't know one way or the other, but how Georgia, a red state, screwed over their own people. And regardless how this guy voted, I could imagine that this is impacting a lot of Trump voters too in the state. Play this clip.
VA employees are going to be affected by these layoffs here at the nation's busiest VA healthcare system, or what impact is going to have. Of course, the new VA secretary is former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins. He's calling these layoffs a tough but necessary decision.
We're mistreated, and like I said, we've been betrayed.
Former First Sergeant Nelson Feliz talked to us from his home in Loganville just hours after he says he got a notice of termination email. Quote, the agency finds, based on your performance, that you have not demonstrated that your further employment at the agency would be in the public interest.
I was a first sergeant. My job was to take care of troops, making sure they were paid, fed, and slept. Why this is happening to us? No. I've been here too long to this to be happening.
The VA announced it would cut more than 1,000 jobs Thursday to save $93 million a year, which would be redirected to veterans' health care benefits and service.
And you want to see proof how I know this is affecting the Trump voters? Because, again, this isn't unique to Georgia. Look at what's happening in Alabama. Go to Huntsville. Remember Huntsville, Alabama? That's where Donald Trump gave the speech many years ago about Colin Kaepernick. Get that SOB off the field. Remember that? This is a ruby red kind of area. Rocket City faces total shutdown amid federal worker bloodbath. Residents of a southern city known for its rocketry programs are bracing for the impacts of Donald Trump's executive orders to cut federal workers. An estimated 21,000 federal employees work in Huntsville, Alabama, many of whom have jobs at the Redstone Arsenal military base, which is also home to FBI offices and the Marshall Flight Center. WAFF reports some residents said they've already received the so-called fork in the road resignation emails, which offered them the buyout. Others work from home, and they know they're about to be axed. Thousands of probationary officers or workers across the United States were laid off, it says. And they're worried about the executive order that basically says that these federal agencies and the ones located in Huntsville should prepare for large-scale reductions in their force right there. And so you have Republican senators also across the country, you know, whether it's in Louisiana or whether it's in Alaska, you name it, basically saying you're firing a lot of people in our district. You're firing FBI, you're firing federal workers, you're screwing over all of our people. Take a look at this one. Why don't we go to Tennessee? You know I'm picking ruby red areas and ruby red states now. So here's Tennessee. It's going to be sad. No federal funding is expected in Morgan County following a deadly tornado. 39 homes were damaged or destroyed from last week's EF2 tornado, according to county leaders. And they're saying that based on the amount of damages, which is severe, but because it's a small town, they don't have more than $13 million in damages, and they don't believe that they'll meet the criteria to even be considered for any type of FEMA aid at all in the Trump administration. Now, I previously reported how in Georgia, going back to Georgia, Governor Kemp requested an extension of the supplemental FEMA aid that President Biden, or former President Biden, gave him after Hurricane Helene, because in Georgia they needed to do some additional debris removal that they were already working on. Former President Biden gave them the aid right away. Donald Trump rejected the aid from FEMA, so rejected it in Georgia. And these people in Tennessee, in this ruby red county and city, they believe it's going to be rejected as well. And Trump's going into all these red states and screwing over their workers as well. By the way, I've been hearing from a lot of people in the East Coast, people I know and trust, these storms that ravage Kentucky, West Virginia, and then creeped into all these other areas in the East Coast and worked its way up the East Coast. A lot of people said, we didn't know the storm was really coming. So I don't know, and I'd love to hear your comments below. Is the National Weather Service working? We know that that was one of the areas that the Trump administration was gutting. A lot of people said, whoa, these blizzard-like conditions kind of came out of nowhere. And usually what we would have seen, the news and the National Weather Service report about this days and weeks in advance, and it's a whole thing, the blizzard of this, and it's reported all the time. I do not want to get conspiratorial, so I'm just hearing from a lot of people that they had no clue of the magnitude of these storms. So let me know in the comments below what you think. But as people were suffering in these red states and purple states, in red states, Kentucky, they have a Democratic governor, but it's a ruby red state. West Virginia, ruby red state. Virginia, a purple state. Donald Trump was doing the photo ops at the Daytona 500 as, 15 people, somewhere between 10 and 15 people died in Kentucky. As of recording this, the number kept on going up, so I think it's going to be more than 10. I don't want to misstate the number. Lots of people injured. Absolute devastation being caused there as well. We reported on it extensively at the Midas Touch network. And so, a lot of these red states, they're finding out the hard way, and it saddens me that they're finding out the hard way. Also, remember all the people saying, oh, the IRS, they're coming for your taxes, they're going to audit you, they're coming after you. Can I tell you what's happening? Elon Musk and Doge are getting access to your tax records. The Washington Post reports that Musk's Doge is seeking access to your personal taxpayer data, and the system which would let them basically trigger collections on you or stop collections activity or to look into you. So if they don't like you, that's something that they're going to be able to potentially do. And then there was that other group of people who were buying into, former President Biden's, he's causing World War III. He's going to cause World War III by strengthening NATO. No, by strengthening NATO, he was avoiding World War III, because let me explain to you what's happening today. Right now, there's an emergency meeting in Europe that was called by French President Macron. You're even going to have the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. They're pulling the UK out of Brexit right here. UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that he will put troops in Ukraine. President Zelensky's called for a European army to be located in Ukraine as America capitulated to Putin. So what Europe and Zelensky see is the alliance of Trump bringing America with Russia. So Trump and Russia having, being on one side of the table, in Europe, and Zelensky being on the other, and Ukraine being on the other side of the table. What a horrific lineup that is, especially where you have I'm going to say over 75 million Americans who are horrified and disgusted by Donald Trump. And meanwhile, we've got this idiot, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, who has no experience to even have such a position, but our spineless Republicans put this guy as our Secretary of Defense. He was a Fox host who's like never led any military command before. To hell. Anyway, here he is at that NATO summit where he just embarrassed himself before the world. Let's play it.
Start with the U.S. press. We're going to take 2 from the U.S. We'll take 2 from international, and then we'll go from there.
You have focused on what Ukraine is giving up. What concessions will Putin be asked to make?
Ultimately is guaranteed by strength of Europeans who are there prepared to back it up.
Right in the far right.
Regarding the new defense investment pledge. When you and President Trump...
Pardon me, sir. What we're going to take from the U.S. is Logan Rattick from Newsmax, please.
Satya from NHK, the Japanese TV station. Thank you very much. I would like to ask about China.
So, folks, we're going to cover this every step of the way. And look, we're going to cover it dispassionately, fact-based. You can judge these things for yourself. But I ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We passed 4 million subscribers. I want to try to get to 10 million subscribers soon. I want to march past 5, and I want to hit 10, because I want this platform to be so big that everybody, in the country and the world is just getting the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Thank you.